नाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। I am going to share my screen. So today we are going to read verse 28, and I believe you all see on the screen. So we'll recite the verse line by line, and you can recite after me. Tam eva manasa grinan.
Tam eva manasha grinan.
Babhuva pramadottama.
Babhuva pramodattama.
Anantaram vidarbhasya.
Anantaram vidarbhasya.
Rajasimhasya vesmani.
Rajasimhasya veshmani.
Tam eva manasa grinan.
Tam eva manasha grinan.
Babhuva pramadottama.
Babhuva pramodattama.
Anantaram vidarbhasya.
Anantaram vidarbhasya.
Rajasimhasya veshmani.
Rajasimhasya veshmani.
Tam eva manasa grinan.
Tam eva manasha grinan.
Babhuva pramadottama.
Babhuva pramodattama.
Anantaram vidarbhasya.
Anantaram vidarbhasya.
Rajasimhasya veshmani.
Rajasimhasya veshmani.
Anyone who would like to recite the verse, please go ahead.
Tameva manasa granan.
Tameva manasha grinan.
Babhuva
Babhuva
pramodattama.
Anantaram vidarbhasya.
Anantaram vidarbhasya.
Rajasimhasya veshmani.
Rajasimhasya veshmani. Tameva manasha grinan.
Tameva manasa grinan.
Babhuva pramodattama.
Babhuva pramadottama.
Anantaram vidarbhasya.
Anantaram vidarbhasya.
Rajasimhasya veshmani.
Rajasimhasya veshmani.
तामेव मनसा गृणान्
Tameva manasha
manasa
grinan.
grinan.
बभूव परमोदोत्तमा
Babhuva pramodattama.
pramodottama.
अनन्तरं विदर्भस्य
Anantaram
Anantaram
vidarbhasya.
vidarbhasya.
राजसिंहस्य वेश्मनि
राजसिंहस्य वेश्मनि
तामेव मनसा गृह्णामि
तामेव मनसा गृह्णान्
बभूवः प्रदुत्तमा
बभूव प्रमदोत्तमा
अनन्तरं विदर्भस्य
अनन्तरं विदर्भस्य
राजसिंहस्य वेश्मनि
राजसिंहस्य
राजसिंहस्य वेश्मनि
वेश्मनि
तमेव मनसा गृह्णामि
तामेव मनसा गृह्णान्
गृह्णान्
बभूना प्रमदोत्तमा
बहुव
बभूव
प्रमोदत्तमा
प्रमदोत्तमा
अनन्तरं विवर्देशाः
अनन्तरं
अनन्तरं
विदर्भस्य
विदर्भस्य
राजा सिंहासनाभीष्मनि
राजसिंहस्य
राजसिंहस्य
वेश्मनि
वेश्मनि Okay, so we'll now read the synonyms. Tam, her.
tam
Tam
her
her.
Eva, certainly.
eva
Eva
certainly
Manasa, by the mind.
Manasa, by the mind.
Grinan, accepting.
Grinan, accepting.
Babhuva, became.
Bahuva, became.
Pramada, woman.
Pramada, woman.
Uttama, highly situated.
Uttama,
Uttama, highly
situated.
situated
Anantaram, after death.
Anantaram,
after
after
death.
death
Vidarbhasya, of Vidarbha.
Vidarbhasya of
Vidarbha.
Vidarbha
Rajasimhasya, of the most powerful king.
Rajasimhasya, of the most powerful king.
Veshmani, at the house.
Veshmani, at the house.
Now I'll read translation. King Puranjan gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently in his next life he became a very beautiful and well situated woman. He took his next birth as the daughter of King Vidarbha in the very house of the king. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Since King Puranjan thought of his wife at the time of death, he attained the body of a woman in his next birth. This verifies the following verse in Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam tyajate ante kalevaram tam tam ivaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. When a living entity is accustomed to think of a particular subject matter or become absorbed in a certain type of thought, he will think of that subject at the time of death. At the time of death, one will think of the subject that had occupied his life while he was awake, lightly sleeping, or dreaming, or while he was deeply sleeping. After falling from the association of the Supreme Lord, the living entity thus transmigrates from one bodily form to another according to nature's course until he finally attains the human form. If he is absorbed in material thoughts and ignorant of spiritual life, and if he does not take shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, who solves all questions of birth and death, he will become a woman in the next life, especially if he thinks of his wife. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.31.1, Karmana Daiva Netrena, a living entity acts piously and impiously, and sometimes in both ways. All actions are taken into account, and the living entity is offered a new body by his superiors. Although King Puranjan was overly attached to his wife, he nonetheless performed many pious fruitive activities. Consequently, although he took the form of a woman, he was given a chance to be the daughter of a powerful king, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6.41. Prapya punya kritam lokan positva shashvati sama shuchinam shrimatam gehe yoga bhrasto bijayate. The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. If a person falls from the path of bhakti yoga, God realization, due to attachment to fruitive activity, philosophical speculation, or mystic yoga, he is given a chance to take birth in a high and rich family. The higher authorities appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead thus render justice to the living entity according to living entity's desire. Although King Puranjan was overly absorbed in thoughts of his wife and thus became a woman, he took birth in a family of a king due to his previous pious activities. The conclusion is that all our activities are taken into consideration before we are awarded another body. Narad Muni therefore advised Vyasadeva that one should take to Krishna consciousness, devotional service, and abandon all ordinary occupational duties. This advice was also given by Lord Krishna himself. Although a devotee may fall from the path of spiritual consciousness, he will nonetheless attain a human body in the home of a devotee or a rich man. In this way, one can resume his devotional service. I will read the translation one more time. So King Puranjan gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently, he in his next life, he became a very beautiful, well-situated woman, and he took his next birth as the daughter of King Vidarbha in the very house of the king. Hare Krishna. This is a very beautiful verse. And this verse is a part of a story which Narad Muni narrates to a king, Prachina Barhisat, or the same king is also called Prachina, the king Barhisat. And in that, Narad Muni narrates the story of King Puranjan. So I would like to just take this opportunity to describe that story in a little bit, and then we'll come to this verse and see what the learnings are. So before I go forward, I would like to take blessings from all the Bhaktarunda, Guru Parampara, so that right words come from my mouth. And if there are any mistakes I make, please correct me. So we'll start with this verse. So I'm going to share some of my notes that I prepared. So as I said, so this story is narrated by Narad Muni, the story of King Puranjan, because this verse starts with King Puranjan. So we will see briefly what King Puranjan's story is, how Narad Muni narrates to King Prachina Barhi or King Barhisat. So this story is really a great lesson, right? So when so King Prachina Barhi, he has 10 sons. They are also called Prachetas. And so King Prachina Barhi, he was considering retiring from the royal duties. However, he sent his 10 sons to perform austerities. The reason is, after performing those austerities, he was thinking that they would become able to rule the kingdom for the welfare of the citizens. So that's why, if you see here, those Prachetas, they went in a forest, and where they, if you see in this picture, that the Lord Shiva with its associates. Okay, I'm not going to describe this story in detail, but in briefly, the Lord Shiva, uh, he come out of that lake with his associates, and he actually instructs Prachitas how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, and that is essentially the prayers. That prayers is also called as Rudra Gitam. So there are around there are many verses, and that actually those prayers are to worship or glorify Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is Krishna. So these Prachitas, they recited this verse for 10,000 years under the water. So that's the austerity they did. Now, at one side, Prachitas are doing austerities. However, their father, he was more engaged into performing yajna for the fruitive activities. King Prachinabarhi is part of is a lineage of very great personality like Dhruva Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj. However, unfortunately, King Prachinabarhi was more he was engaged into those fruitive activities, and uh, uh, and that's why the Prachina the king Prachinabarhi was performing these fruitive activities, and by performing various yagyas. Now, when the great sage Narad, now how the Narad Muni comes into picture, that when great sage Narad saw that Prachinabarhi is a descendant of Dhruva Maharaj. However, he is misled. He is misled by fruitive activities. And Narad Muni was very compassionate. So he personally came to instruct him about what? About the final goal of the life. That is, life, human life is so rare that we should not waste our lifetime for fruitive activities, but what is our real goal is. And he actually instructed this in a way that is narrating the story of Puranjan. Now, in whole Bhagavatam, these teachings that we have seen in the form of many stories. Some stories give you direct teachings, some stories give you indirect teachings. Now, this particular situation where Narad Muni explains King Prachinabarhi by narrating the story of Puranjan is an indirect way of telling him, because um, uh, actually the Puranjan, and as we'll see later, that the Puranjan story is nothing but is the story of King Prachinabarhi itself. But this is an indirect way of training people like King Prachinabarhi. Okay, so now this event, so all the this, as we see, the Narada Muni um, uh, ask this the king that what do you desire? I mean, you are performing so many sacrifices for your fruitive results, but eventually, what do you want to achieve, right? Because Narada Muni explained the chief aim of the life is to get rid of all miseries. Then why are you wasting your time? Okay. And one point is that Srila Prabhupada writes that one can get promoted to higher planetary system or heavenly kingdom by performing various yajna. However, there is no question of liberation, meaning you cannot attain liberation or you cannot go back to Godhead just by performing yajnas. So, but however, the king Prachinabarhi, although he was performing this yajnas for fruitive results, but he was also aware of that fact, meaning he was not totally in ignorance, right? So he frankly admitted that fact in front of Narad Muni, and he asked Narad Muni, he inquired Narad Muni how he could get out, of this entanglement of fruitive activities. And this is what Srila Prabhupada says, inquiring to spiritual master. So this is a classic example when this is the real business of human life. This is how Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. That is a learning for us. That is, first is he's aware that this is a material entanglement. But what's the next step? That is, inquire submissively. To whom? To spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada, so in this particular situation, what we see is King Prachina Barhi found the best spiritual master, that is Narad Muni, and he asked him that what should I do? How do I get out of this entanglement? Then Narada Muni start explaining. So, so Narada Muni, he explained that those who are interested only in so-called this dutiful life, dutiful means we perform some duties, right? And especially the householder life, where we are entangled by the wife and sons, and we are hankering for the wealth, right? So and we end up thinking that's our life's ultimate goal. But such people, what is the outcome when you spend your whole life about wife, kids, and just hankering for the wealth? What happened eventually? Such people, they just wander in different types of bodies, right, throughout this material existence, and they don't know what is the final goal of human form of life. Now, Narad Muni draw up specifically his attention to the excessive animal killing, because the king, during his sacrifices, he killed many animals, because as per the Vedas, right, animal killing is recommended in some specific situation, right? So Narada Muni draws his attention to animal killing. He says, please see in the sky. Please see, of course, using his mystic power, Narada Muni explaining, see in the sky those animals which you have sacrificed without compassion and without mercy. Once you leave your body, they are going to pierce their horn in your body. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes little about this animal killing, that as per Shastra, by killing animals in the sacrifice, one immediately promotes them to human birth. So there is specific purpose, there is a higher purpose, that when the animals are offered, right, they get promoted to the human birth. However, overindulgence in the animal killing is risky, because as soon as there is a little discrepancy, even smaller discrepancy in the execution of a sacrifice, that slaughtered animal may not get promoted to the human form of life. And hence, what the side effect is, the person who is performing such sacrifice, he will be responsible for the death of that animal. So Srila Prabhupada, he gave even another very example from the practical life. When animals are killed in the slaughterhouse, six type of people uh, uh, which are connected with the killing are responsible for that murder. And which are those six people? The one who give permission for the killing, second, one who kill himself, third, one who help killing, fourth, who purchase the meat, the fifth, who cooks the meat, and the last one who eats the meat. So these all they are responsible. So hence the animal killing is not encouraged even in sacrifice. Okay. So with that said, now Narad Muni then starts narrating the story of King Puranjan. So that's how there is a little bit context I wanted to give, like how this Puranjan story starts. So now Srila Prabhupada says this story is nothing but the history of the king Barhisat itself. And Srila Prabhupada even write further, even King Puranjana is nothing but our everyone's life. We are everyone, we are King Puranjan in some way or other. And we'll see how that is as we go through this story. Right? So Srila Prabhupada says this is an allegorical representation. Okay. So the word, so Puranjana, if we break up this word, so there is some meaning to it. Pura and Jana. So Puranjana means the one who enjoy in his own body, meaning who is more bodily conscious, who just understands body is the ultimate, and he just work hard for the body and the bodily pleasures. So now, why Narad Muni picked up this indirect way of teaching? That is also very interesting to see. Why he couldn't immediately say to king, you are performing these wrong things, you should directly get engaged into direct. This is the direct teaching, like Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. There are 9 processes of bhakti. Why can't? But Narad Muni picked up an indirect way. And that's very good, nice explanation Srila Prabhupada mentioned. That if good instructions are given to a foolish rascal, he simply become angry. And he turn away. And he turn away from those instructions instead of following those. And Narad Muni knew this very well. Hence, Narad Muni instructed king by giving him by using the story of Puranjana. So if you see, the whole Puranjana is nothing but the history of King Barhisat itself. Okay, so we'll move on to the story now. So the King Puranjana is a reputed in the sense, reputed because of his celebrated personality, because of his activity, material activity, and he has a friend, Avigyata, who is unknown friend. No, unknown means he is not that popular to anyone, rather to no one. Only Puranjana knows that friend, right? And we'll see how to, as we go through the slide, we will see what the symbolic understanding of these characters too. Puranjana travel around entire world to find a suitable place where he can live nicely, right? But unfortunately, he could not find a place that give him a pleasure. Okay, so everywhere he go, he get a place where he get temporary happiness. And eventually, finally, he come across a city. That city is a city that has a 9 gates. And we are gonna see that what that 9 gates are, right? So, so this particular city in Bhagavatam, it says this city is located in the southern side of the Himalayas, in a place called India, Bharatvarsha. So that city has 9 gates, and city was characterized by all facilities. Now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained with regard to Bharatvarsha specifically that whoever takes birth in the land of Bharatvarsha attains all the facilities of life, and he may take advantage of those facilities for both the purpose, material as well as spiritual advancement. And the same person, once he attains the goal of life, he will distribute his knowledge to others. So that's how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the significance of people who take birth in Bharatvarsha. Now, in Bhagavatam, further it explains more about the city and how opulent the city is. City has nice organization, very all orderly. Like all things are placed. There are walls, there are parks, there are things to enjoyment. There are nice canals, right? Everything available that we can live materially very nicely. And there were 9 gates because in every gate, because typically in India too, right? Some places have different ways of entry. right? Sometimes you have Akbar Gate, New Delhi Gate in India. So each gate, when you enter, there is a specific, every gate has a significance. There you get a specific enjoyment. That's why this city, he come across city, which, and he was so felt nice. Oh, such a nice, beautiful city. Now we'll see what is the symbolic representation. So we see that Puranjan and Avigyata, right? So where Puranjana, he represents a conditioned soul, and Avigyata is super soul. Super soul is nothing but so Supreme Personality of Godhead manifestation, right, in our heart. It's a super soul, and he travel around the world. What that symbolic representation means, the soul is transmigrating from one body to another. Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 talks about in detail. Where Bhagavad Krishna explains this. But why you transmigrate? Because you are hankering for the happiness, but still you don't get happiness even if you transmigrate. And then he come across a city of 9 gates, meaning you now come across a fresh body where you can use that body for get the more material happiness, right? So that's how this symbolic representation is. Then as we say that Bhagavatam explained the beauty of this city. It has walls, it has parks, towers, capital, and there are many things for sense enjoyments. Now, how do we symbolically understand? So walls means the skin, the parks are the hairs, the towers are nose and head, the capital is the heart. Heart is where the center where our desires or impulses originates, right? And the sense enjoyments are eyes, ears, nose. Again, Bhagavatam explained more detail. I just picked up 4 or 5 examples just to give a symbolic understanding. And now let's see what those city gates are. So city gates are nothing but they are symbolically when we connect to human body. These are the gates in human bodies. 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 eyes, 1 mouth, genital and anus. And as I said, each gate where there is a materially you can that conditioned soul experience the sense enjoyment through each of those gates. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada also says body is also considered as a bag of 3 elements like mucus, bile and air. But even some people consider, even though they know, they are still behind the body and bodily pleasure, and such people are no better than cow or ass. So that's how it is explained in the purport. Now next one is, as Patanjali is watching the city, now he come across a beautiful woman. Okay, so let's see that what woman is. So Puranjan see a woman with many associates, and first of all he get very attracted, but he asked her, that is ask many questions like, where are you coming from, who are you, whose daughter you are, right? And what purpose you are here, what are you trying to do? He has so many questions, and he also asked the question about his associates. So let's see what associates she has. She has 11 bodyguards. Again, these are, I would say, the primary. Out of 11, there are 10 servants and 1 serpent. And out those 10 servants have there are many wives, right? So it's like a big team, and a serpent and 1 serpent. But the beautiful woman, she answered that I don't know about my source. I don't know how I come here. I don't know even who built this city. I don't know how this whole parks and canals, but I know this place is nice, right? And she said that I know now you have come here, right? All these men and women, these are my friends. This snake is a protector. He's protecting this city. This is what I know, right? And I know you have a great desire to satisfy your senses, but my friends and I, we will try to satisfy your desires. So she explained in a way that we are here to satisfy your desires. So that's how the communication goes. And both are young, and she's very beautiful. And then both get attracted to each other, and that's where Srila Prabhupada explained, right? As and the human body, right? As once in the kid, when we are when the body is like a kid or the small child, then there are no such impulses. But when you grow youth, then you get those impulses, and then attraction starts. Now we see the symbolically what this means. So we see Puranjana, we see Puranjani. Now I'm using word Puranjani. That's how the woman name explained in Bhagavatam. So Puranjan is conditioned soul that we saw earlier. And Puranjani represents the intelligence, the material intelligence. And now we'll see what Puranjani's associate represents. So 11 bodyguards. So out of that 10 servants, so 10 servants are our 5 working senses. Right? So 5 working senses and 5 knowledge gathering senses. So which are those 5 working senses? Voice, legs, hands, genitals, anus, and 5 knowledge gathering senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. So these together, right, along with mind, those are the bodyguards. And finally the serpent, and serpent with a 5 heads. So this serpent that she was talking about, the serpent has a 5 heads. So symbolically what it represents, the life air. And I think we know the 5 life air: prana, apana, vyana, samana, udana. Right? So without that life air, right? So here we see that soul, and then the life air, and how soul is using the various senses. So this is very beautiful understanding the Bhagavatam gives. Now the next one, as the story continued, the Puranjana gets so attracted, they both get married. But Puranjan, he was so much in love, I would say, or attraction, that he followed Puranjan in all respects. That is his wife. Now here we see the how engrossed one become in wife. So for example, there are few activities I picked up. The way Bhagavatam explained, if Puranjani start dining or start eating, start laughing, start crying, she sits, she smells, she touch, exactly same Puranjan used to do. That's how he was engrossed in her. So that's where we see that conditioned soul follow material intelligence. And what material intelligence does, how do I enjoy the senses, right? Sense desires, and eventually you become cause of bondage. But at the same time, Srila Prabhupada give example of Ambarish Maharaj, so that we understand that how we should engage our senses. That is how Ambarish Maharaj example that we know, he engaged all his senses for the service of Krishna, mind and senses both. That, and when we do that, it purifies our intelligence, and we don't, and that doesn't cause bondage. So as story continue, now on one day, King Puranjana, he just leave Puranjani in the palace or in the city, and he get a desire to go in the forest and for hunting animals. So he leave her alone, and he go to forest, and he kill again many animals. Now if you here see, like the conversation initially we talked about Narada Muni and King Prachina Barhisat, and here the same history is repeating. So the King Puranjana, the Narada is explaining, he killed many animals, right, in the forest. For what? For just for desires. There is no Vedic scriptures here that he should kill animals. And he killed the animal, he wrapped up his day, he come back to, back to the palace, and now he see the Puranjani, Now she is very angry because the only reason is he left her alone. And then what happens is king actually spent a lot of time to pacify her, glorify her, praise her. And eventually what happens is king accepts kind of emotionally, he's under the control of queen, and queen finally welcome him, right? So how do we understand this? Like Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ji explained that when we conditioned soul try to do something forcibly which mind doesn't want, okay, so let's say we are trying to follow some regulative principles, right, but mind doesn't want that, and we are trying forcefully, say for some time, but after some time mind come back much more bigger force. At that time if we lose, then we fall at the we take shelter of the mind, and then we just follow what mind says. This is what this symbolic representation is. So when he come back, he saw Puranjan is now very angry, and he tried to persuade her, and finally he takes shelter, and whatever now queen wants, and then only queen accepts him. So that's the symbolic representation. So then story continue. The king continue enjoying with queen. Family expands, 1100 sons, 110 daughters, their marriages, they got their grandchildren. So if you see like this, King Puranjan, no, completely engrossed in material life, not even thinking of the real goal of the human life. As the family grows, now they also start now claiming their part of the wealth, because King Puranjan accumulated so much wealth, right? Now here we see how the situation is that family is also now asking, stealing that wealth, getting their portion, their pie. Eventually king become, age is growing, clock is ticking, he become old. So now Narada Muni now introduces some additional character, and we'll see how those two characters are Chandavega and Kalakanya, right? So Chandavega is a Gandharva king, and he had many soldiers which are male and female, 360 soldiers and 360 soldiers females, and they attack this city, that city of 9 gates, with a full force, and they fight with, and as we know, a serpent is a protector, so they start fighting with serpent. Serpent fought for 100 years, but eventually serpent eventually become weak and weak. And when serpent become weak, see for example, if we have army, and if army become weak, then citizen become anxious. Same happened to Puranjan, he become more anxious. Now we'll see what is the symbolic representation here, right? So Chandavega is the time. Time means time is proceeding, right? So time is coming, and Puranjan is a conditioned soul. Time is clicking, time is and 100 years, and this we'll talk about the soldiers. So soldiers and male and female, right? So here 360 soldiers, they're considered as a days, and 360 soldiers female, they're considered as nights. So that essentially a representation of a year, one calendar year. And then 100 years is a lifespan in general, right? Say typically one condition soul in a human form live 100 years. So what this means, throughout this 100 years, this serpent, which is life air, is protecting the soul, right? Protecting the soul. But how long they can protect, how long they can fight with the time? Eventually that pranavayu, that life air, become slowly weak. So that's what this representation is. So Narada Muni then introduced another character that is called Kalakanya. Now Kalakanya is a daughter of time, and her name is, another name is Jara. So if you know this Swara Sanskrit word Jara, right? Jara means Vardhakya. Vardhakya means old age. So we'll see what this old age symbolically represents. Now Kalakanya want to marry, but no one was accepting her. No one. She approached many, but no one was trying to. No one was accepting. She even approached Narad Muni. Narad Muni also didn't accept her. So eventually she cursed Narad Muni. What she cursed? You will not be able to stay in one place for a long time. And eventually she married a king of Yavana. Okay. Now we'll see what is the symbolic representation of this. So Kalakanya, daughter of time, that is daughter of Gandharva, right? So he's old age. She represents old age. And Bhaya, that is Yavana, he represents fear. Now we'll see how this go together with relative to the conditioned soul, that is King Puranjan, that is time, old age, and fear. So that's what this Bhagavatam is trying to teach us. That is, there is a time, there is the old age, there is a fear, and the last one is fever that we'll talk about. So that's called Prajvara. So these all four, first we'll see in terms of story, they attack the city, attacking the city from different types of gates. We don't know which gates they come in, but they can come in through gates and they attack. Fearful attack. And now what happens is Puranjan and Sarpan, protector as well as Puranjan, they were forced to leave. Puranjan doesn't want to leave. He was so attached to my city. He liked my city. He liked that whatever the desire or the enjoyment, he doesn't want. But that attack was so fierce that Puranjan is helpless. They were forced to leave that city. Now, how to understand this? Even at this moment, he couldn't even remember his real friend, Avigyata. If you remember on the just few minutes back, we talked about his real friend. He doesn't remember, there is my real friend. And so before we go to animals pierce him with their hind horn. So how do we understand this? Right? So at the time of death, when body is so weak, then this time, old age, fear, and fever. So as Srila Bhagavatam says, especially at the later stage of, at the time of death, that there is a fever. That is also one of the factor that hits and that force the soul to leave the body. So at the time of old age, body, soul, your teeth cannot work. You can that soul, we cannot even eat nice. Even there is a nice food, we cannot eat it. You cannot drink more water. You can drink water like very smaller quantity. Your activities are so less, right? So then eventually you are forced to leave the body. So that's how this represents the story. At that time, if someone is so engrossed with material desire, you cannot even remember the super soul, our relationship with the super soul. And what is this last point is animal pierced him, because the way Narad Muni explained that because Puranjana killed many animals when he went to hunting. So eventually, as you so Bhagavatam explains a lot, like when you leave the body, then Yamraj decide what the next before even the next body is handed over. So then in that punishment, so this is all explained. I'm not going in detail, but this is what the punishment you get. That is what is the result when you perform activities like killing animals just for your own whimsical desires. So those animals eventually pierce him with their iron thorns after he leaves the body. So the next one, at the time of death, what king remembers? Family, house, wealth, and more importantly, over engrossed with wife. So what happens? This is where this verse starts with, that we are looking at today. At the time of death, king was constantly thinking about and more thinking about the wife, because wife, she also has so many good memories, a lot of, that he was thinking about, and Bhagavatam explains a lot. So what happens is, as even Bhagavad Gita says, yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam त्यजते ante kalevaram tam tam itaiva kaunteya ya sadatat bhava bhavitah. So whatever you remember, whatever your mood thoughts are, you get the next birth. And here he thought about his wife, and he get the next life as a Vidarbhi. So Vidarbhi is a daughter of King Vidarbha. But now here one thing we need to understand, that he get a birth in a family of riches. because King Puranjan, now as per the verse, right? If there are any pious activities that we have performed, accordingly you get next birth accordingly, right? So there are some pious activities if you have performed. That is the case in case of King Prachina Barhi. He performed pious activities, Vedic rituals, right? So eventually, what would be the outcome? He definitely will get the human form of life, considering all those calculations. And here we see that as per Bhagavatam, King become a daughter of King Vidarbha, and that is name is Vidarbhi. I'll just go quickly, just conclude the story because then we'll know what happened next. So Vidarbhi eventually married with another king called King Malayadhwaja, who is a devotee of Krishna. He renounced everything eventually and he worshipped Krishna in a solitary place. Vidarbhi served her husband a lot. I mean, with heart, with full love, right? And Malayadhwaja eventually leave his body in the forest as he worshipping the Krishna. So he fixed his mind completely in Krishna consciousness. And Vidarbhi followed. I mean, she continued serving her husband. She even gave like a fire to the dead body of her husband in the forest, and she eventually was about to give herself in that fire. At that time, old Brahmana come and stop her, and then this old Brahmana is nothing but super soul, supreme personality of Godhead in the form of Brahmana. He stops and he said, and he instructs that you are neither a Vidarbhi, you are not even a Puranjan. He gave example in his previous life you were Kiran Puranjan, but you are neither of those. You are just you are a soul, and we both are the true friends. We are like the two swan. We are in the like in the river, right? So and then he instructs that this is how the true relationship is. But you forget me, and you turn away to material desires, and that's how you end up having this birth like King Puranjan and then eventually this Vidarbhi. So that's how the Lord eventually then Narada conclude the story that this is how the story is and explain to Prachina Barhi. Okay, this is the indirect way of indirect way of preaching. That is you are engrossed in so much of material life, right? And then you should really um, see who is your real friend is, and you should understand the real goal of the life. And if you see I just want to do the recap quickly, that in this particular story what we have seen is that excess of animal killing in the sacrifices that we see that King Prachina Barhi Sat did. We see then in the story of Puranjana, we see the strong attachment to opposite sex, and we see the remembrance at the time of death, and eventually it caused repeated cycle of birth and death that adulterate your intelligence. You completely under the control of your mind. And what is the recommended sacrifice for the Kali Yuga? So Srila Prabhupada, so so this is something for us. So King Prachina Barhi, he was doing all sorts of yogas with the paraphernalia, but what is the yagya for Kali Yuga? Is Sankirtan Yagya, that is chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we saw the example of Amrish Maharaj also, right? So how do we engage our senses for the service of the Lord? So now coming back to this, this verse is all about this how a person gets a birth. The King Puranjan get a birth of Vidarbhi, right? And he get Vidarbhi why? Because of some pious activity, and based on that calculation, he get a birth, right, in the family of a riches. And then we also talked about the what happened after that birth, Vidarbhi, and then Vidarbhi get instruction from Brahmana, who is none other than Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so this is something I really would like to share with this indirect way of preaching by Narada Muni to King Prachina Barhi. And I would like to stop here. Please share your comments and please correct me if I said anything wrong. Hare Krishna.
I joined a little late, Madhukanta Prabhu, but nice recap.
Thank you, Mataji.
A nice analogy, right? I mean, how everything deteriorates in the end,
True, Mataji.
but we don't recognize it. You should wish, you guys are still young. You should recognize it early. We are at the tail end, some of us.
True.
So I can relate very well to exactly what you're saying.
Mataji, and again, young and old, that definition is different. If Srila Prabhupada says, right?
I know, as devotees, at any age we know we can go, but still the urgency sometimes is if we forget more in when we are young,
Yeah.
there's greater urgency as we get older. We recognize it, and you feel all the things that are being explained in the Shastras, what happens in the end.
True.
All that you say, like how, I mean, it doesn't even have to be at the time of death. Like, I think a couple of years ago, I had like a really bad case of the flu where it went into a little bit of pneumonia, I was so sick, Madhavkanta Prabhu. I literally felt like the life air was going out of my body. You know what I'm saying? You feel that sick. And then you begin to think, how is death? If I'm feeling like this, when I'm a little bit sick, when I'm a little bit, elevated sick, how death must be, I literally prayed to get better. I said, please let me get better so I can do some service, because I could not do anything. I could not even sleep properly because I was, restless. And I was getting up at 2:30 in the morning, and I was like almost afraid because you felt so deathly, the body was not functioning well. And I was listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures at 2:30 in the morning because just to kind of feel a little better and get some strength, so everything that you said in the lecture at the end, how, the jwara, the fever, and what was the four things you said?
Right.
Um,
One is time, then old age,
mhm.
fear, and
Fear,
fever.
yeah, fever. All those things are real. You know what I'm saying? Even when you are feeling a little elevated, sick, you can feel some of those things, And then I felt so much better after I got better. I mean, you just, you feel like you can do some service. You can, your mindset becomes completely different, So it made me realize that preparation is so important, that when that last moment comes, the full preparation and practice is, I'm hoping, what comes to your help, Otherwise there is no hope, because at that time you cannot bring your faculties together that easily. So
Yeah.
just a little my own personal experience.
No, well said, Mataji. Even Srila Prabhupada even talk about situation of coma too, right? Coma is like, then you don't know like what thoughts it will be. So that's again a tough situation. But
Mhm.
but what you said is totally correct.
Yeah, if there is preparation, hopefully even in the coma, you're going to think about, what you prepared for all your life, right? You can hope.
I don't know, Mataji, but yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Somebody's laughing.
Yeah, Mataji. I don't know if you're in coma, you can at least even think.
No, that's not true. That is not true, because even people in coma, when you talk to them, when you chant to them, I've heard that they, reflectively respond to some degree. You know what I'm saying? So coma doesn't mean that the soul has left the body. The soul is still there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've heard of people in coma like responding with a slight, gesture of a finger or a hand or something like that, when people are talking to them or chanting to them or something like that. So, that's why it's important all your life to prepare,
No,
and
that's
have
true.
devotees around you.
That's true.
That is true.
So, one question in this story, so the Puranjan and Puranjani, these are just symbolic stories, or they are real? It's just a symbolic story to explain to the other king, or they are real characters, or they're real people?
So the way Srila Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam, so Narada Muni, so this is allegorical story, allegorical. So allegorical story is a story inside a story. And then again, I don't have a answer exactly real or non-real, but the way Narad Muni, even Srila Prabhupada said, this history that Narad Muni explained about Puranjan is actually the history of King Barhisat himself. That's how Srila Prabhupada explains. So-
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. May I add something?
Yes, Mataji.
So Prabhuji, as Mataji is saying, but it's the names are different. The story is real. So he's
Okay.
just the name has been given different, like Puranjana. But this was story itself of the king. And Prabhupada also mentions we also like have a similar kind of story. So story is real because it's his life story. But I am not saying I'm not saying A and B. I am saying 1 and 2. Like that's the replacement is there, but the story is real.
So does that king becomes a Vidarbhi in the next life? He is, because we are talking about like two life situations, right? For the Puranjana, he becomes Vidarbhi in the next life. So is that even happens with the first king to whom Narad Muni is telling
Actually,
this story?
what's going to happen, Mataji, if he will be so attached to his wife, and then he is going to become not say the name Vidarbhi, but the other lady, or the name could be different, but the soul is same, and he is going to acquire the female body if he will be so much attached to his wife.
Okay. So one another question, in his whole life, he was so engaged he was more his wife conscious. He was not God conscious. And then in the next life, he becomes Vidarbhi, and then he serves the husband who was God conscious. She serves basically the husband who was God conscious. But how is that something they have done, like a good God conscious activity? That's why Krishna came in the form of Brahmana as her true old friend.
I think if we go with an example of this particular verse which saw 4.28, as per the purport, that's how Srila Prabhupada explains that based on the activities that you might have performed in your previous life. Again, for King Puranjana, at least I haven't come across maybe in his previous life what else he might have done. But as per the purport of this verse, yes, if there are so many pious activities that you have performed, then that get calculated, and then you get next birth as a human form. The only reason is so that you can continue, right, your journey, because eventually you want to get out of this birth and death cycle. So actually Krishna is very, very merciful. So he see that there is some effort that particular soul is taking in a given lifetime. Now to this specific question of King Puranjan, because in this particular narration, maybe I might have missed, but I haven't come across like that signify King Puranjana performing any pious activity, so and so forth. But it doesn't mean he may not have in his previous birth. So that probably the reason he is getting another human form of birth, that's also in the family of riches, and where woman and she actually continue serving husband, and eventually get finally instruction from none other than Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so if there are no more questions or comment, then we'll offer prayers to all devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Madhukanta Das
की
ki jai.
Radhika ki jai.
राधिका की जय
Jai.
Very wonderful class, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Hari
Thank
Bol.
you.
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा everyone.
Hare Krishna.